Today I want to talk to you about scaling. So if your business is at the place where you have already moved past six figures, you're stably there, maybe you're at 200,000, 250, maybe you're even at the 500,000, and you're hitting that line where you know you need to scale, you need to grow, because that's in your being, that's in your heart. You want to impact people, you want to change the world, you want to spread your expertise around. And it feels like, okay, which way to go? This is where a lot of times in women business owners, the brain kicks in with all the analyzing. Well, there's this proven strategy, there's this proven strategy, this is how you scale, this is how everybody scales. And let's look at how does everybody scale. Well, usually that means create some sort of a lower program for lower value, lower price tag, and it's larger, more people can come in. Usually it means some complex automations and 20-step funnels and maybe having lots of ads or something like that generates the inflow of clients and so on. And this is all good and great, but if you are not feeling that this is something that works for you, maybe you've tried the ads and it's not working because currently all the social media networks and algorithms are changing, and you did something and now it's not working anymore, and you're like, well, I don't know, whatever I did before suddenly is not working. Maybe you've tried many different things and they all felt kind of off. Maybe you running into this thing that no matter what I try, I still feel like I'm in the same place. Well, the reason for that is because whatever it is that you're doing is probably not aligned with what your soul design is meant to do. So I'm introducing a new term here. You probably don't know soul design. I've invented that term. It's a combination of factors, but you can think of it as a natural way of doing something that is pre-programmed in you by the universe, by God. So what that means is when you come into this lifetime, when you're born, you bring in a specific pattern. You bring in specific energetical dynamics as to how you meant to do things. That doesn't mean you have to follow this. We all have free will and we can do anything we want. 100% possible, 100% of the time. But some things are much harder to do than others if they are not aligned with what we're meant to do. In other words, if you're doing something in alignment with your natural design, you're going to feel the flow. You're going to feel like things are easier. You're going to feel like you don't have to figure things out as much. It sort of clicks in and feels right. And one thing I can tell you is that up to six figures, there's a lot of pushing and pressing and forcing and making things work. But after, when you're already at multiple six figures or close to multiple and you want to go further, this is where you're at the place of, all right, why are you starting this? Why are you starting this whole next thing, right? You just risked a lot to get to this point, and now you're at the place where you kind of got to go further, but why? And a lot of times what ends up triggering us to go there is some sort of a proving, some sort of a, I have to because then I will finally be realized, then I will finally show that I can. Or this is just like how successful business is supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like by me getting to that level. And what we need to do is always look as to, is this something that is aligned with us? This is not about money. You can always progress in your business and generate more income, but how you do it makes a big difference. So when we go from the energy of proving, from the energy of analyzing, strategizing, just thinking in the mental sense of the pros and cons, we quite often end up running on the programming that is not ours. This is something that you've been given by probably your family, probably the environment you grow up with, energetics of the place you're part of or community you're part of. And most of those energetics are built on rigid patterns that worked for other people. And I know that this is such a thing that like, well, just do what other people did. It worked for them, so it will work for you. That's great strategy for when you're under six figures. You're just learning, you're just figuring things out. And you kind of have to start from the place of, all right, I don't know anything. Somebody did something. Let me try what they did, and then I'll figure it out for myself. But when you're already at the place where you know what you're doing, you know how to attract clients, you know what to do with them once they come to you. You have an onboarding strategy, you have a whole system, that the methodology that's uniquely yours, you know how to run your programs, you know how to do sales, like all of this stuff is taken care of. At that place, it is not so much let me pick existing strategy and stick it into my business because it worked for other people. At this place, it becomes, what is my strategy? It doesn't mean you have to invent it from scratch. You can still utilize other strategies, but they need to be customized and modified to match your energetics. The reason I'm saying this is because I have talked to so many successful women who have their businesses, coaching practices, and so on at that level of 200,000, 300,000, even 500,000 a year. And they kind of like feeling like they're hitting a plateau where they don't know how to scale, even though they know all the business strategies, like they've already done a lot of things. They understand, like, well, I can do this way, I can do this way, I can create a program and like outsource it, hire somebody to run it. I can, go more higher end and create like unique kind of one-on-one customized thing. Like they get what they can do. But what to do feels unclear. Because at this point, you kind of use not to risk, like you got to the place where you've been kind of comfy for a while, right? You didn't have to struggle. You didn't have to do the thing that you did at the very beginning. Now you're at the place where, well, it's kind of working, people are kind of coming. Everything is sort of working. How do I go further? And there's always that pressure at that point that, well, I should use this strategy. And let's say you apply the strategy that you think you should use, and it's not creating the result you want. It seems like, well, you hired more team, or you hired some support coaches, or you created this program, but then it's not selling as well, or very few people coming in and whatever. And what usually happens is one of the two things. Either the person frantically goes and tries another strategy that's also not working, and then another strategy that's also not working, and so on, and then start to feel bad about themselves, like, well, there must be something wrong with me because I'm doing all the things that everybody else are doing and it's working for them. Why is it not working for me? Or they go back into the way that they were when the business was smaller. Like, well, okay, all these other things didn't work out, so I'm just gonna go back doing what I know works and just keep my business there. But then you still kind of feel bad because you really wished that it was a bigger influence. You really wished that it was something sort of more out there in the world than what it became. So again, back to the reason and what I do. What I do is the soul design infusion into your business. So if you're wondering why you should be listening to me, well, I'm a coach that's been in business for over 20 years. I'm a transformational mentor. I'm a business strategist. I'm a marketing energetics coach. Like I've been doing all these things based on one's unique pattern of energetics. I'm clairvoyant from birth. What that means is I see patterns, possibilities, timelines, and things like that. And I have a very practical kind of anchored in material plane of existence understanding of business strategy. So what I do is combine those so that you can activate your soul design profit potential. Every person has a potential for profit that is instilled in their design. Most of us don't fully use it because we either think it's too simple, or there's no way that's kind of gonna get us money, or whatever. And a lot of times that specific profit potential is actually something that frees you to be more you. So kind of summarizing what I just said is, if you're at the place where you're generating income and you know what you're doing and you're kind of stable there, you're thinking of going further, and you've probably tried many things and still bumping at that, why is this not going further? Or maybe you kind of tried and, the traditional marketing didn't work for you, or you don't like it and you shifted back to what you know how to do while still having a dream of a bigger business. The reason why this stuff not working now, when maybe the same things worked for you just fine when you were at just getting to 6 figures or just over 6 figures, it's because you're at a different place in your soul design. We evolve in our timeline and our journey on this planet. So when you start something, you're amplifying certain patterns within your natural way, your natural energetics. And those patterns then start to create interaction with the external environment, which then results in certain people coming to you, certain opportunities coming to you, definitely growing your wealth container for more money to come to you, and so on. This is great. You find something that works, you stabilize there. Now you have your company, you have your branding, you have your marketing, like you know what you're doing. And then what? And then you're trying to use the same things that worked before to go further. Or maybe following somebody else's strategy who told you this is how you should scale, and then it feels weird and doesn't quite fit you, like walking in somebody else's shoes that are too tight and it just hurts your feet. So instead, what needs to happen though is that recognition that you are now moved along your timeline. You moved along your inner design into a different phase. And at different parts of your business, there are different phases. So as you're trying to scale, utilizing your natural way of how you meant to do things, what is the actual organic, natural inflow of energy for you? That shifts how you're scaling into what you're scale. For some people, their soul design says, great, this is the time for me to go out there and be super known, like be very well known, famous almost, like hundreds of thousands of followers. This is my time. And then that is what they need to actually be activating. For other people, though, it might be something completely different. Like, for example, if you're meant to teach and you know in your being that, okay, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I want to enlighten people, I want to bring what my wisdom is to the world. That also can take different forms. It can take form of a highly customized higher end program and lesser clients, while then sharing what you know in some sort of a platform that is easier to do for you, like maybe through Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives or podcast or some TV station or something that you do as a way to share your wisdom that is free, while you're having a higher end program that is way more customized and way more higher end than what you have now. But if one person's soul design is aligned with that, another person's might not. What they might need to do is actually create a larger program with more people coming in that would be slightly lower in fee and maybe hire support team to be able to run this and polish their methodology and bring that into the world and so on. There are many, many different ways, and not all ways work for all people. So understanding what is yours, not just from what your mental idea is, but from what actually works for your energetics, will result in ease and flow and more wealth, or the lack of such flow and less wealth. So if you're at the place where you're hitting that line, when you're knowing that, okay, I know something next needs to happen, but I'm not quite sure what that next is. I know what is, I'm good at what is, it's working, it's generating income, but the next thing, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and then it's very tempting to try to figure that out mentally. Like, well, let me do pros and cons, and then I will kind of land this strategy sort of better, I think, suited for what I can do, let's go there. And then you hire a coach, you hire an agency maybe to run your ads and whatever, and here you go. And then in the end, you kind of wonder, why does it not feel right? Or why is it that it's not producing the result? Lately, I've been talking to a lot of women who are successful, who were right in that position, and then went into business programs that taught them how to scale. You know, those higher end things for $50,000 or so, where, you know, somebody tells you exactly how you can get to, you know, a million or 2 or 10, and they were not having the results. And they were like, well, I'm generally a successful person. Like, I know what I'm doing. Maybe you're a type A, maybe you're an energizer bunny, maybe you're just, you know, overachiever in general, and you just succeed in life. Like, you've got here. So it kind of hurts when you notice that, like, well, I paid for this, I've invested in this, I've done everything, I've done even more, I've tried really, really hard. Why is this not working? But now you're a little bit less in investment and you're still not getting the result. So at this point, it's very tempting to blame yourself and say, well, I must not be trying hard enough. Because, you know, we're conscious people. We're not going to blame the coach because the coach probably has the, you know, idea of what they're teaching. So let's say, okay, maybe that person knows and it's just us that's not doing the work right. That's kind of where women usually go. But the problem with that is that it's not going to help you get further, because self-blame only shrinks your wealth container. So this is where knowing your soul design and then integrating that into your business is super important. In my opinion, it's important from the start of your business, because then you start correctly. Most people who are successful, like if you're able to get to 100,000, 200,000 or more per year income, that means you actually, to some extent, utilizing your soul design, even if you don't know anything about it, because you naturally would have had to uncover your gifts. You naturally would have had to understand what your expertise is and kind of understand what you're, not that great at, and outsource that or not focus there. So there's a certain amount of this has already occurred. But one thing that tends to not occur yet, which then creates this plateau in scaling, is the piece of not being clear what is actually you and what is not you. So the parts of you that are not you, those are the programming, imprints, or conditioning that you have gotten from your environment or your parents or, your education and so on. A lot of times we so associate with them, especially if they seem to be working for a while and even generate us income and make us feel proud and strong, that it feels like that is us. But in the soul design next level, like what I was saying earlier about moving along the timeline, when you're at the place where you're starting to scale, like when you passed 200,000, you're going into 3, or you pass 500,000, you're going towards 1 million, and so on, that place, universe asks more of you. It asks of you to be at the different level within you. What that means is it's asking you to shed components of you that are not you. And this is the place where most people kind of hit the wall. So your plateau in scaling is actually your plateau in understanding which parts of you are not you that you're still trying to implement, thinking that they are you. And I know it sounds really out there, but it's not. For example, you might think that in order to do something, you have to prove it in a specific way. And then when you shed the power of the pattern of proving, what you find underneath it is the power of knowing what is it that you're trying to deliver already. So then the process of delivering it becomes very different, because now it's not based on proving. And this is like literally what I do with my clients. It's 1-2 degree shifts. It's tiny little adjustments. It's not about changing your whole business now, because you already got your business and it's working and it's awesome. Now it's about micro adjustments, where you go, oh, I haven't seen that. Or, yep, I always felt that, but I just wouldn't let myself fully relax into it, and so on. So these teeny little adjustments then create the smooth flow for your energy. And now you're playing your game at a much higher level. Now you are telling the universe, yep, I'm doing the work. I'm finally past the place of when I didn't know who I was and I was just conditioned by the environment and imprinted into thinking I'm something that I'm not, to the place where I became more authentic. I ran my business based on my true power and expertise and gifts, and great, I built that. And now I'm scaling the third phase of your business. Now I'm doing it by clearing up whatever is not me, so that I can really step into my mission. This third phase, the scaling phase of your business, and there are obviously steps after that as well, but that one relates directly to your mission, to the vision of what you want to create on earth. And it's not something very mechanical, like a lot of times people think at the lower phases of their business, like, oh, my mission is to impact this many people, or my mission is to, change health on the planet, or whatever. These are kind of generalized ideas, and they pretty much bad marketing. But when you get to the higher place in your personal development, this is all about personal transformation and understanding yourself and being masterful and self-responsible and high integrity person. When you're in that place and you are shedding parts of you that are not you, you are stepping into a very different level of authenticity. That authenticity is based on self-acceptance, self-love, and it is truly aligned with what you meant to bring. And it's not always that, oh, I meant to bring this one specific gift. It's actually a frequency, not so much the thing you do. What you do with the frequency, that is what I help my clients figure out how to apply it. But being in that frequency, like hitting that note within your being, you probably right now, the place where you occasionally hit that note. And when you do certain things, that happens. Like maybe you get that note when you're in selling. Maybe you get that note when you're presenting. Maybe you hit that note when you're coaching your client. There's certain places in your life right now, in your already successful business, where you are hitting that frequency of you being fully living your soul design, your mission, like what you're meant to do. But it only happens sometimes. And the key for the scaling here is to have that happen much more often, so that that frequency becomes something that you own so much more, that this is something that you're fully in most of the time. And the more you're in that energy, the more you are able to utilize the dynamics of the universe in a different way. So what do dynamics of the universe have to do with business? Well, business is not just linear. We have been taught through the system that exists currently that business is like step in front of, like one step, next step, kind of the process of planning and strategizing and goal settings and all that. But that's just one side of business. Strategy is very important and it's needed in business, but it's just one side. The other side, it's about relationships, it's about connection, it's about resonance and impacting one another. It's about personal development and how that affects people around you. That side has much more to do with what is being attracted, while the directional, the planning side has much more to do with going after something. So traditionally, you might have been in a phase of going after when you were trying to get to 6 figures. When you got to 6 figures and then you stabilized your business at some higher number, you're at the place of utilizing less of that active getting and to some extent subconsciously utilizing more of the other side that is about attracting, pulling in, creating completely differently. It's a non-linear creation. So when you go into the third phase, when you're scaling your business, when you're at the place where like, yep, I want to grow my business. I know that it's meant to be bigger. I know that I want to generate more income, want to impact people in a, larger scale or differently or deeper and so on. That scaling requires a different proportion of these two components, of the going after and magnetically attracting. At this place, that's much more magnetically attracting with some strategy, some linear. And that's the part that most people miss, because once they get to that line, this energy kicks in of like, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to scale now, I'm stabilized, great, next level. And then they go full force after. This is my goal, this is how much money I want to make, this is how many clients I want to have, and so on. And that is a very masculine way of doing things that kind of doesn't work for women who want to do business in a conscious way. So when you're in that phase, trying to go after the goal actually is going to sabotage getting to that place. It's about owning your design, owning that unique way of how you are wired and what is actually meant to happen within you, who you're meant to be, shedding all the things that are not you and being in a frequency that you are in order to step into that frequency consistently. When you do so, then your scaling becomes sustainable. It's not anymore about some artificial goal that your mind created for you as a picture of certain number of clients or money or whatever. But instead, it becomes more about the type of an experience that you're actually having. I mean, why did we become entrepreneurs? Not to work hard as if we're working for someone else, which is like, then you could just have a job, right? So we became entrepreneurs because we wanted to be free. We wanted to have things happen our own way. And the only way that's going to happen in the third phase of scaling is if you are actually being that frequency and then fully integrating that energy into your business, so your business is sustainable. So you're not just creating another layer of hardship because your own being won't let you. That's part of the plateau. But you are creating a beautiful, smooth flow that feels natural. The goals and all these ideas kind of fall away. And what's left is a true vision that's based on where you're meant to get, like out of the 100%, what is the unique path that is meant to be yours versus whatever you might decide, oh, that's a shiny thing I want to follow, or that's a shiny thing I like because somebody else has it. This is how they grew their company, so I should. And instead it becomes, no, how do I want it? And fully giving yourself permission to free yourself from all these limitations and confusion and pressure and forcing yourself into some strategies that are someone else's, and develop your own natural navigation to bring you into that smooth sailing of your business scaling naturally. So this is what I do with my clients. And if everything that I was saying here kind of hits the right notes for you and you're like, yep, I've been kind of feeling this and what you're saying sounds very interesting, I would love to talk to you so that we can have a conversation and actually see where you are in your business. What are you doing that's in alignment? What probably isn't in alignment, like where are you hitting those walls? And then if we decide to work together, we can look at your soul design. We can actually look at how you're built. What is it that you're meant to do? What is not you that needs to be shed still more so that you can find more and more of the true you in there, and how that needs to be integrated into your business. What I find usually is people feel incredible relief. They start to feel like, oh my God, I've always known that this would be easier, but I just couldn't let myself do it. Or, are you sure I can just not do this thing? I thought I have to do this thing, but this felt so hard and I'm just dreading it every time I'm doing it. But, how do you run your business without this thing? And you're telling me I don't have to do this thing? It's like, no, you don't. It's not part of your design. That's why it feels so hard and that's why you're dreading it. So shedding things that we think we should do and instead amplifying things that you kind of always known that you need to do or that would feel right to do, and then bringing that into your business. This is what I'm a master of. This is my superpower. I connect the unconnectable and I see the patterns in your being, not just in your business, but in who you are. And I see what is you and what is not you. And we'll look through your soul design, how that needs to be integrated into your business so that as you grow in your business, as you're scaling your business, you are moving into that next phase with the highest level of integrity, highest level of authenticity, highest level of service when you're truly living your mission, truly living your vision. So if this resonates with you, definitely let's connect. Let's look at what's going on in your current situation in your business and how I can help you get to that next level that you're envisioning correctly so that you have the incredible feeling of no pressure, no forcing, just freedom and flow of you being you while serving your clients at the highest level. I'm so looking forward to talking with you.